This is the era of business intelligence analytics, and Power BI is leading that. You want to learn Power BI? This is the channel for you. Beginner series 200 plus videos, advanced series 100 plus videos, and if you are absolute beginner, don't know anything in Power BI, then start with 4 live videos. Subscribe to the channel. Hello and welcome to another video on beginner tutorial series, and in today's video we are going to discuss one DAX function, and that function is Table.TransformColumnName. The function can help you in transforming the column name, and we need to understand what does this function does. The function takes an argument as a table, name generator function, and optional arguments are there, and it returns, finally it's going to return you a table again. So takes a table, returns a table with few in between argument, and let's look at example. What does it do? So the example which has been given here is Table.TransformColumnNames. Table from records is the part, and then simply the function which has been used is Table.clean, which is going to clean the column name. And now you know the clean function, if you remember, it's going to remove the non-printable character. So as you can see here, there is a tab, #tab, which is written, which is basically a non-printable character. It's going to remove that. Okay, and we need to create our own example, and maybe we will test that. Okay, and then the second example has been given where the optional argument has been used and max length has been enforced. And when we have enforced the max length, you can see when the output comes out. And let me show you the outputs and what is this. So let's understand this little bit more in detail. So this is the table actually which has been given as the first argument, and this is the clean function which has been used. So the table.transform function, the first argument is a table which is basically coming from record, and the table.clean function has been used. And you see the output here, and you see the name is column is coming, means this tab which is there in the column name is removed. Okay, now if you want to look at the second example, in the second example you see the table.transform. First, this is the table which is coming from record, then we have this table.clean text.clean function again, and then we are using the max length which we have wanted to enforce the max length. And once we get the output, you can see that the maximum length of all the columns is not more than 6. Okay, so this is what this function can do. So really powerful function. Let's go ahead and try this out. So first what we'll do is we can take up this example itself and go to Power BI and try that out, or we can actually go ahead and create our own data and do that. So let's jump onto the Power BI with this code basically, and then we will create our own code also to implement that. So let me jump onto the Power BI, and in Power BI I would like to open Power Query. To do that, I'll go to the Home tab, Transform Data, Transform Data. So this is my Home tab. This is Transform Data, Transform Data, and I'll click there, and I reached Power Query. Now in the Power Query, under the Home tab, there is New Source and Blank Query, which I'm going to use to do this. So this is what we are doing. We are creating this blank query, and the reason for creating this blank query that we can write down our own code, and that code can give us table, code can allow us to write down our own operations which we want in the blank query. So I'm going to do that. So now I got a blank query. Now I would like to rename this first of all, the query 10, if you can see on the bottom. So to do that, what I need to do, either double click or right click, rename, and let me call it transform name. And we go to advanced editor, and I can paste that complete script which I copied from there. Now to make you understand in not in a single step, to double step, let me remove this first of all. So what would happen, you will be able to see what name I am getting it. So first of all, let me return only the table. Now when you go here, you can see there is a gap. This is the tab which we were talking about there, tab in the name. So there is a name, there is a gap in the name, and we wanted to use the clean function. So clean function should remove the non-printable characters. Basically, that's what our objective is. So we go to advanced editor. Now we say, okay, we want to perform this operation. So comma, and instead of in one step, let's perform it in two step, underscore transform. And whenever I do a step here, what I do typically is I write down underscore name so that you can differentiate between the step written by Power BI, Power Query, or something which I'm writing down separately. So we say transform column names. And what was the first argument? First argument was table, if you remember. So where we are going to give source. The second argument is the function where we are going to use text.clean. Text.clean function we have discussed in the past. You will be able to find out the video if you search Amit Chandak text.clean. You should be able to find out a video where we explain how clean function works and what all it can do. So it can remove enter sign, tab sign, any non-printable characters. It can remove. That's what the expectation is. We have added a new step, so we need to return this new step. So we are returning it here, the new step. You can see here is my new step, and this is the new step I created. So let me say done. And once I do that, you see that this column name, now if I double click here, and you can see there is no tab in it. Okay, and let me remove few things from here. Okay, now so I removed the column distribution profile and quality which is on. Now what I want to test here is next thing, can I also remove the names which are before that? And you might have asked this question, my column name doesn't came clean. They might require clean operation, or they might require at least trim operation. That's why don't we create a table where we require the trim kind of operation. And so let me create a table. So I created a table space AA BB space, and let me create space CCC space, and let me give any kind of number here, 1 2 3. One row is enough, or let's font for the, just have one more row. So by using the enter data I'm creating this, and let's call it transform name 2. Okay, now we got a table where we have done the enter data. Now let's click on this table. It's appearing on the left hand side. Just for your reference, I can highlight that and look at the column names. So you might not be able to notice the spaces. So how do I show you where are the spaces? So one of the way to notice those spaces is basically, if you look at the name here, you can see in the change type the names. The another way to check it is basically, if I go here and double click, you will be able to see, you can see a space here, and you can see a space here, and every time I'm pressing escape, because if I don't press escape, it might actually rename that column by removing this space. And let me show you this one. You can see this spaces both the sides. I'm again pressing the escape, coming back out now, and see, if I do some changes, it may actually rename it, and we don't want that, because we want to handle these kind of columns which is not clean. And this clean is not in terms of the non-printable character. This clean is basically requiring a trim operation. So we wanted to do other trim operations. How do we do that? So let me right click and on the table name and go to advanced editor. The same option is also available under the home tab. Now I go here and I want to add a step. So I press a comma at the last and I press enter. No need of shift enter or alt enter in the Power Query. And I say underscore transform. And whenever I am writing down a step, you might have noticed that I write down underscore so that you can differentiate this step I am writing. And what is the function we are learning here? Table.TransformColumnNames, and that's what is going to help us out. And what's the next operation we are going to do here is, the next operation to do, before we do the next operation, we need the table name, and table name we are going to pick up from the last step. And see, if you are trying have a table already in a different one and you want to refer this in this one, you can use the table name. Otherwise, typically it is the last step table name. Okay, and you need to be careful because we have learned a lot of stuff in the Power Query, so it may not be the last step is table. Typically, the way Power Query works in the automated manner, means we are not interfering, it typically most of the steps are table, but that's not true when we are manually writing down script. So please be careful, choose the table name. Now the second step is what operation I wanted to give. So here I want to say I want to do text.trim. We have trim operation like trim start, trim end, but we have created this kind of data where we need trim at both the places. So let's understand what we have done now. And before we do that, let me also return this. So what's happening here is basically, if you see here, uh, so I am doing this table.transformColumnNames with the change type table, which is I'm bringing in from here. Okay. And then I'm doing this operation trim and I'm returning this step. Okay. So once I do that, I say click OK. You see that. How do I make sure? Definitely I need to click and show it to you that okay, the names have changed, and let me press escape. And one more way I can tell you easily that it has changed, like I can double click here and again I say A B C D, right click, rename A B V D. It has now renamed. And while renaming, look at the name what is given. That's the main intention which I wanted to showcase you here is basically look at this name. This doesn't have any space here. This is the new name, so we are not bothered about it. But if you can see, there is no space here. It means the table.transform column name had done a good job. Now I can remove this. Now we learned couple more parameters, and we like why don't we bring in those here now? So we learned these parameters. So we say why don't we also experiment? Can we use these? So why don't we go here and write it down? Now we don't have a 6 character column names, so why don't we make only 2? Now CCC is 3. So if we do that, is it going to make any difference? So what we are saying here is we are entering a record kind of a stuff here, where in the square bracket we are saying max length is equal to 2 and comparer is equal to ordinal ignore case. So we are going to ignore the case, but the thing is the max length has helped us to reduce the length to 2. Now you need to be very careful. Let's say if I would have a name A and C. Now this could have created a confusion here, because then I would have 2 names AA. So the third parameter also you can use. Now you have learned, how this one function transform column names can help you. It can help you to remove spaces from all the columns. It can help you in removing enter, tab, any special non-printable characters from your column names in one go. So why don't you go ahead and try this out, and do let me know what else you want me to consider in this particular series. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you. Keep watching, keep asking questions in comments, subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you can get notification for new videos. Thank you.